Speaking of inmates, we were saying that drugs is a really big problem. I believe in the State of the State address, the governor did mention prescription drugs and the problem there. Did you mention that you have a bill that you're working on in that area?
I do, and it's the pill mill bills, I refer to it. And as you know, well, and I've told this story many times, 2009, Elizabeth Torrey from E-Town, Senator Torrey, had a bill to deal with these pill mills. And I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to her because I didn't think it affected my district. I hadn't heard that that was a problem in the 5 counties that I represent. And I really didn't give her much time, and the bill never went anywhere. Well, lo and behold, the very next year, 2010, I get a call from a young lady that used to live in Marion County, now lived in Grayson, Kentucky, but she called me from Olive Hill. She said, I'm sitting here in Olive Hill, I'm looking at the local paper here, and there's a quarter-page ad for a pain management clinic in Lebanon. I told her, no, there's no pain management clinics in Lebanon. I would know about it. So she said, okay, maybe it's a mistake. And she called me back a little later that day. She says, I'm at home in Grayson. I'm looking at the Grayson newspaper, and there's that same ad as in the Grayson newspaper about a pain management clinic in Lebanon, Kentucky. And I said, well, where is it? I'll go check it out. And she said, the Lebanon Trade Center. So I go down and look, and sure enough, there it is. And but they didn't advertise here. They were advertising in newspapers 200 miles away, Gary. So, and my son did some, wrote a few things on the internet about it, and went in, took some pictures, and had a sign on the wall, you know, $200 cash for a prescription, and you had to have an MRI. So all this pain clinic was doing was writing prescriptions for, and they were charging you $200 for 100 pills, and they were coming in van loads. You know, not just one person, but van loads to get these pills. So anyway, the Lebanon Enterprise got involved, and within about 3 weeks, one night in the middle of the night, they left in the middle of the night and was gone. So anyway, I filed that legislation in 2011. And, you know, really we had a lot of work to do on it. Bill Dahl, the lobbyist for the Kentucky Medical Association, stopped me in the hall one day and he says, you know what your bill does? And I said, yeah, it gets rid of pill mills. And he said, well, what it actually does, it requires them to get a certificate of need. And I said, well, good. That's good, because I know how difficult it is for anybody to get a certificate of need. And he said, well, we need to talk, and I got a lot of the stakeholders together, and the League of Cities, the Board of Medical Licensure, Van Ingram with the Governor's Office of Drug Policy, and the KMA, and the OIG, the Office of Inspector General, and we met many times to go over to find a bill that would deal with these pill mills. So I have filed that legislation. We're going to hear it. The first hearing is next week, and and it should be passed out fairly quickly. And over in the House, Speaker Stumbo is working on some legislation to deal with Casper. That's the when you go go to the doctor and you go to the pharmacist and get a narcotic, then they enter it in the Casper system. And so we're going to make some changes to the Casper system to try to help. But I saw a statistic the other day, and this is not real accurate. This is a low number, because and one of the changes we'll make this year too, when there's a death, we're going to add a category to deal with drug overdoses as a cause of death. And currently there's not one in Kentucky that realizes drug overdoses as a cause of death. But even without that, and with the number of deaths we know are contributed to drug overdose, more people died last year from the legal prescriptions, the illegal use of prescriptions. More people died from prescription overdose than from car accidents. So, you know, that's and that's just the ones we know about. Like I said, there are many more that we really don't know about. So right. It is a bad problem, and so like I said, I filed the legislation, and we should have that passed fairly soon, and it will regulate these pill mills, and what it would do, it would require them to get a license. It would require it to be physician-owned. It would require that that the physician that's writing the prescriptions, that he undergoes a background check, and he has no that his license is active and doesn't have any suspensions anywhere, and also require everybody that works in the office to go through a background check. So we think that will deal with them, and we're hoping that's and as it goes through, I'm sure there'll be some changes made to it. Some people will see an opportunity to make it better, and that's fine with me. I have no problems with if anybody wants to make it better.
Adjusting, yeah. Mm-hmm. What else? What other issues are you?
Well, while we're in while we're talking about drugs, last year one of the biggest stories and one of the most contentious debates in the Senate was about pseudoephedrine, and there was a bill passed.
Which is used for methamphetamine.
Meth, right? That's the main ingredient, I guess. But anyway, there was a bill introduced in the Senate, passed out of committee, but it was introduced into the Senate that would make all types of pseudoephedrine. You would have to have a prescription, go to the doctor and get a prescription to get pseudoephedrine. But right now, it's over the counter, but you have to show your driver's license, and you're restricted how much you can buy a year. It goes through a system we call meth check, and so. And that proposal was to make everybody get a prescription for any type of pseudoephedrine, and that bill didn't pass. And I received a lot of calls on that, and I did not support that legislation. This year, a compromise bill has been introduced, and the main ingredient for meth is the tablet form of pseudoephedrine. So there's a bill introduced to make the tablet form of pseudoephedrine that it'd be available only by prescription. But gel caps and the other forms of pseudoephedrine, like I said, you have the tablets and you have the gel caps and some caplets and other things available. Mm-hmm. They would be available like they are now. It would only be the caplets or the tablets that would be required to have a prescription. So what I'd like to do is I'd like for people to let me know how they feel about that legislation, because that is a compromise, and so interesting to hear from my constituents on that, and I know you'll put that 800 number up at the bottom of the screen, so they can call that legislative message line. They can call up till 11 o'clock at night, and there's an operator answer, and they'll know the bill number of the bills. You just have to tell them, I want to check in on the meth bill, and tell them what you think. I want you to, that the compromise is okay, or I don't like the compromise. And like I said, that's open till 11 o'clock at night. So if you're watching 5 o'clock news or 6 o'clock news or 10 o'clock news and you see an issue that's going on in Frankfort, you can pick the phone up, dial the 800 number, and leave a message for myself or Terry Mills or both of us. And we will get that message, fairly soon. And if you want us to call you back and discuss the issue, you can say, call me back. I try to call as many people back as I can that call me, but literally some days I'll get 500 phone calls and 1,000 emails, so it gets a little difficult sometimes to get back to everybody. But if somebody really wants me to call them back, I will call them back, or they can call me at home and leave me a message. That number is 270-692-6945. And but Gary, I do work for the people in my district, and I like to hear from them. That's how I get educated. Mm-hmm. When I first went to Frankfurt, I told people I knew a little bit about everything, and thought I did. When I got there and found out real quick I didn't know anything about a whole lot of stuff. So the way I learn and the way I find out about things is people, call me and share their experiences or share their knowledge with me about an issue, and it really does help. Right. It really does help, because I don't want to vote the way Jimmy Higdon thinks on everything. I want to vote the way my constituents want me to vote. Now, undoubtedly, every year there'll be an issue that it's 50-50. Half my people want me to go one way, and half my constituents want me to go the other way, and I have to make a decision. And those nights, I spend the night before a vote, I'll spend tossing and turning and change my mind 4 or 5 times on how I'm going to vote. But and sometimes don't know how I'm going to vote until they call my name. I keep going back and forth because, like I said, I'm torn between one side or the other. So it's. But that's part of it. I survive it every time. But anyway, that's part of it.
One final thing I want to talk to you about too is the gambling, the casinos. Do you think that's going to be a hot issue?
It's always a hot issue. And when I ran for the state senate, I made a commitment that I would support putting it on the ballot. And I'm going to do that. I heard somebody say on the radio the other day that New Year's resolutions were like a politician's promises. It didn't last long, but I made that promise that I would support putting it on the ballot, and I will do that. Now, we still don't know what it is going to be on the ballot, and I can't support just anything on the ballot. But if it's reasonable, I'm fine. But still, we don't know what the proposal is. The governor hasn't showed us what his proposal would be. And the House is saying it should start in the Senate. I don't know that the Senate has any obligation to start it first there. We're discussing it, and we'll be discussing it a lot. So it'll be one of those issues that you'll hear a lot about, and I will receive a lot of phone calls. So feel free to weigh in with me what you think about it, but like I said, if it's voted on, it will be on the ballot in 2012, and so. And
then that will let the public decide whether they want to have casino gambling at racetracks.
Right, Kentucky's not a referendum state. This is not a referendum for gaming, for slots at tracks or casinos. For that to be legal, it requires a change in Kentucky Constitution. And there's some fears, that people fear that, if it comes by doing a constitutional amendment, for it to pass the House or the Senate, it has to have 3/5 majority. So that means it has to have 60 votes in the House, 23 votes in the Senate. And so if it falls short, it doesn't pass. Even though it has a majority, it has to have that 3/5 majority. And also, there's some people fear that, it could lose. And that's why you vote on it. I'd say I haven't seen any statistics on it, any surveys, but I'd say, it's going to be a very close vote.
Well, we'll wait and see. A lot going on in Frankfort. Thank you for coming by and giving us an update.
Well, thank you, Gary, and I appreciate you putting up the toll-free number for the legislative message line, and I encourage your viewers, my constituents, to please give me a call and let me know how you feel on these issues, because it is important for me to hear from you.
Right. This has been Gary White for Central Kentucky Television with State Senator Jimmy Higdon.